So, John, I had mentioned to you, I think, I could be wrong, but one of our top-rated episodes of all time, and we're getting up now, this is going to be episode 72, but one of our top-rated episodes of all time.
Jeep Cherokee. It's got to be that one.
It actually was.
Oh, I was kidding.
I was mistaken before. The episode 10 XJ Cherokee was one of our top-rated.
Oh, cool.
But in our top 5 was our International Harvester parts, or our International Harvester history episode.
Yeah, you can't say enough about those combines and tractors, man. They're just, they're explicitly off-road.
Well, they made more than combines and tractors.
Yeah, they made parts for the M1 Garand in World War II.
Oh, my God. John, we're not going to do this again.
Come on.
You were telling me they made refrigerators, and there was one on Friends and all this and that. Yeah, I remember. It's been like a year, but I remember, okay? I have some PTSD on this, but anyways, no, you came very well prepared for that episode.
Yeah, I tried.
Anyways, on UA, Ultimate Adventure, I ran into these really cool guys, Jeff and Zaed Ismail, and they are with International Harvester Parts America. They've agreed to come on the podcast. We're going to dial them up in here in just a second. You want to talk to these guys today?
I suppose.
You suppose.
Well, you shut me down about the tractors, so yeah, I don't know now.
I'm not. You can ask them about tractors. I'm not sure how much they know about tractors, but yeah, let's talk about the International Harvester 4x4s, at least the off-road vehicles.
Let's do it.
It's time to hit the trail. Lock in those hubs and throw it into low range, because you are listening to Wheelin' with Keith and Johnny Orange, broadcasting from the Thin Line Off-Road Studio. They're here to talk about 4x4s, trucks, and everything to do with enjoying the great outdoors. Buckle up. Here's your hosts, Keith and Johnny Orange.
All right, Jeff and Zaed, do we have you guys on the line?
Yeah, we're here. We're here.
All right, awesome. So let me ask you that we already talked. I don't know if you had a chance ever to listen to our Wheelin' Ultimate Adventure recap episodes, but of course we had to mention one of the most epic things that happened on UA, and that was a particular white Scout maybe showing its axles to the sun.
Yeah, the Scout finally, took it to the point level that it decided to take a nap on the trail and said it had enough.
I mean, we all do that sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, no fault of the Scout. Chose to add a little bit of comfort to this year's UA, and that ended up making the Scout a little top heavy. So in that off-camber situation, didn't take much of a bump to end up laying that thing on its side. So lesson learned, and we'll move on from there.
Well, as you remember, myself and Vern Simons were the only ones that were actually witnessed that, I think, in person. Maybe there was one or two other spotters up the trail, but everyone else had gone up to look at the Warren Jeep, which had blown up its axle. I think that's what had happened when you'd gone over there. So it was kind of like you and Chad, who I was riding with, were at kind of the tail end of that last day of the trip there, and man, that was epic. That was pretty epic. Which I was very sad because, we had 3 Scouts on UA, and you had probably the nicest one there. Such a beautiful, beautiful Scout. Why don't you guys tell us about that Scout that you built?
Yeah, I will. Thank you. I appreciate it. Might have been nice, but boy, it sure was temperamental that whole week. But still cornbinder powered. It's got an International 392 in it. It's fuel injected. It's got a big cam in it, headers, air conditioning, and then an onboard air compressor. Just about every other little doodad you can throw underneath the hood there. NV 4500 5-speed overdrive tranny. Made it to a Jeep Dana 300 with 4-to-1 gears.
John's over here. He's like, yeah. Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right.
I'm very pro manual transmission.
44. Oh yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I love them. 60 rear, 44 front, air lockers, 513 gears. So it scoots really well on the on the highway, but it also, with about 115 to 1 crawl ratio, so it still does a great job crawling around.
And you were running a rooftop tent on that, and you said you did have fuel injection. That's a GM fuel injection system on it, or is that something that you make?
Hamilton. Yeah, Hamilton fuel injection. Bill Hamilton's a good friend of mine, and so it's based off a factory GM TBI fuel system. Really has been trouble-free for years, but for whatever reason, the first day of UA, we developed a fuel pump issue that never experienced before on it, and unfortunately, because of the flop, I'm not driving the Scout now, so I just don't have the ability to see if I can find out what went wrong, like why all of a sudden that problem crept up on us there on the first day, and was kind of a gremlin the whole week there. But we'll figure it out and fix it and go from there.
Well, okay, so, and I'm showing Johnny Orange right now. He's seen him before, but I'm showing him pictures again of you going over there in South Dakota. What's going to happen with the Scout? Are you rebuilding it, or is it done for, parting it out? What's the plan here?
The plan is just to put it into hibernation for a little while and concentrate on a new rig for Ultimate Adventure for next year. And then once that's built and settled in, maybe a year from now, we'll get back on the Scout. It was getting pretty beat. I mean, like I said, I've been driving that thing for 18 years. So there was a lot of things underneath the chassis. It was just getting tired and worn out. So it was time for a good rebuild. Hated to go out in this manner, but it kind of forces my hand in getting it done the way I want to get it done today. The vehicle was built 18 years ago for a totally different purpose than what I'm now using it for. So, more modifications are definitely on hand, but it will be back. It'll definitely be back.
I'm super glad to hear that. And, just for our listeners' reference, what Jeff is considering a beat rig here, we would consider Michigan new.
Yeah.
So,
beat, there's not a scratch or dent or any rust holes on that thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's a beautiful, beautiful rig. Now, was that your first UA, or had you done UA before?
So that was my second UA. We went to Alaska last year for UA, so that was a pretty epic trip. The Scout did great that year. I'm not a mud guy. It was mostly a mud trip, but we persevered and drove all the way to Alaska and did UA and drove all the way home, like over 7,500 miles in about 18 days.
Wow.
So it was so the Scout definitely earned a good reputation there, but like I said, it definitely didn't want to do it again this year.
Hey, man, you still made it all the way through day 7. So, Zaed, did you go up to Alaska as well?
I did not go to Alaska.
Oh, you did. So was this your first UA, the one that we just all went on?
Yeah, it was my first UA.
All right. So cool. And so, Zaed, Jeff's your dad, correct?
Correct.
All right, man. So you're both involved with IH Parts America. Now, Jeff, are you the founder of that company?
Yeah. I started it back up in 2004, and started in a pole barn at my parents' house, and just kept working and brought on a couple of really good friends, Darren and Michael. They started a long time ago with me, and they're still here today. And we progressed on to the shop I'm sitting in right now, which is at my house. We worked in it for 5 years, and then once we had enough spare change saved up, we bought a bigger place in town, and moved the business there almost 5 years ago. So now we just use this old shop for the R&D center and developing new stuff, and just working on our IHs.
Super cool. So, of course, I got to ask, how did you get involved in IHs in the first place? Like, where was the passion for them? I mean, why not say, I don't know, Priuses or, old Honda Civics or whatever, what?
Just give them the credit of a 4x4.
Oh,
Keith,
okay. Or old Jeeps or whatever,
or Chevy trucks.
Some families grow up in old Chevys, or some in Fords or Dodges. We grew up in old Internationals. My dad did gardening and landscaping, and property maintenance for many years and used an international truck in his business. And so, like I said, we grew up in them, and that's just, what we stuck around driving. I still daily drive one every day.
Nice.
What's your daily?
For the most part, I put the most miles on my 70 Travelall. I do a lot of hauling with it, and it just has room. I don't have to worry about the weather. If I do have stuff in it, I can lock it. So it's 392 with the NV 4500 and a 205 transfer case, and then it's got a Dana 60 in the front and a 14 bolt in the back. So
awesome.
I know when I was loaded bringing the Scout back from Oregon after Ultimate Adventure, we pulled onto the scales and had a combined weight of 17,200 pounds. So that old iron heavy corn binder was hauling some weight, that's for sure.
Yep.
We've mentioned before, we have a local auto parts store, and the gentleman that owns it he's actually a listener to the podcast as well. He drives a Travelall every single day as his daily driver year round. Nice. So they're definitely still out there. I love them. I drive an International every day too, but unfortunately it's wrapped in a Ford truck. So I've got an International 7.3 diesel. So
I can't play this game.
You guys, IH Parts America, so you told us kind of the company got it started at your parents' house, and you built it up from there. From what I'm kind of putting together, it seems like you guys are the go-to company for like original new old stock parts, things like that. And then you're also working on some other things as well for aftermarket parts to keep these old, not just Scouts, but all sorts of Internationals on the road.
Yeah, that's correct. We cater to all sides of the market. So from the original restoration guys or purists to the guys that are doing resto mods, and then, the whole off-road crowd. We have our in-house product line called CPT, Crawler Proven Technology. So we have like a lot of suspension components or anything that we make for the Internationals. We put our CPT name on it. I mean, we made billet aluminum pulleys for these International motors and different like power steering kits, again, the suspension kits, steering kits, disc brake kits, overdrive transmissions, even working with Chad over at Quick Draw to come up with a new bell housing design to run a AX15 behind these old International 4-cylinder motors. So definitely, like I said, a lot of our parts that we make in-house is for modernization to improve on what we have. So, but we do cater, like I said, we try to cater to the whole market. And the bulk of our business, like 90%, is online retail, just selling parts all over the world. But we do have our own restoration shop, that we do a lot of customer restorations, resto mods, whatever they want. And then some of our own manufacturing we do in-house as well.
Awesome. What would you guys say is probably your best-selling product?
Probably like the lift kit for the Scout 8800s. We sell quite a bit of those. Reverse shackle kits we sell a lot of. And then, I don't know, probably like fuel tanks and fuel sanding units is a pretty common item too.
Nice.
Yeah, you would tell me a little more of the CPT technology. So, are you building your own suspension systems for the Scouts?
Correct. So, like, we have our own complete lift kit for, like, say, the early Scouts, as we call it, the 61, the 71s, where it's new springs, all new shackles, bushings, using Bilstein shocks. It just really, for an old Scout, it improves the ride quality quite a bit. So we concentrate on a lot of that stuff, a lot of even for the Scout 2s, and then we've even got into the full size doing lift kits for those as well. And trying to use like common parts. So for like our full size trucks, we've designed brackets that actually use a common 73 to 87 GM lift spring that anybody can buy anywhere. So, hard to find International springs, but you can buy a lift spring for GM anywhere. So that's what we designed our kit around.
That's awesome.
So just little things like that. Yeah, anything that we use, just no one's really making specific stuff for these things anymore. So you have to find something else off the shelf and then tweak it and make it work for these things. So that's where the money and is having the knowledge to figure that stuff out.
Jeff, I never fully, even prior to the episode here, and this is kind of my bad, I never really introduced my co-host here, Johnny Orange, but you're kind of talking his language right now, a couple of different ways. One, everything you're mentioning is manual transmissions, and he is a big manual transmission guy, especially a big fan of the AX-15. But two, he... everything John builds, he tries to bolt together, even if it's using a different manufacturer. He tries to figure out ways to use factory parts, or at least readily available parts for his builds. And so I'm sure, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, John, but I think you could probably appreciate the fact, like he was just saying, that they're using Chevy lift spring parts and stuff. I mean, it's readily available stuff. I mean,
take what's available and make it work for you. I love it, and just kind of live most of my life by that principle. I love it.
Oh yeah, that's like one of the reasons I built the Travelall with GM parts underneath, for 14-bolt rear end, Dana 60 up front. Especially on a 14-bolt. It's like, man, you could be anywhere in this country and have a problem with that 14-bolt. You'll find a part for it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that was like one of the reasons of taking like the International. Even though it had Dana 60 in it, there's still a little bit of oddball stuff. It's like, yeah, you can find brake shoes, wheel cylinders, but then you go to find a brake drum and boom, it's a piece of unobtainium worth, an arm and a leg just to find. So, like I said, it's trying to find common parts. Back then, a lot of these guys did so many similar things between Ford, Chevy, and Dodge, and all it is just opening up the parts books and trying to find. It's like, oh yeah, look here. International was pretty good about borrowing parts from all these other guys. So usually, if you could just find that part number or source, you're golden. You end up for finding a replacement.
Yeah, or something close enough, like you said. Grind this tab off and it bolts on, kind of thing.
Yeah, just knowing what other part that you can make work with just a little fidgeting on it.
Yep.
Speaking of books, you are the producer, or would the right word be author, of Binder Books. Is that correct?
Well, the owner of Binder Books. My wife and I own that as well. That was a business we picked up a little over 2 years ago. Knew the owners for a long time, and they were getting ready to retire and get out of it. We actually had available space at our new location in town. And I just thought, man, this would be a perfect fit. We're all about preserving history at IH Parts. That's our number one goal, is preserving history. Number two is making money doing it so we can keep doing number one.
Absolutely.
And I thought Binder Books would be perfect because that's just a total preservation. That's just a whole conglomeration of history right there, with all the amount of paperwork that we were getting, all the books and manuals to every little international thing that they ever made, from refrigerators to actual corn binders or weed thrashers or whatever the heck they made. Man, I'll tell you, if International made it, we've got a manual on it. It's crazy how much stuff they made through the years. So just having that little bit of basically a personal library of International Harvester stuff at our fingertips, it's just awesome having that. But just knowing that we've secured it, and we've got it held, that whole bit of information in a spot, at least, to keep that part of the history and legacy going.
So is that, you'll have to forgive me, I don't know what the Binder Books is, but that's just a collection of the materials, manuals, and all that stuff?
Yes, correct. So
awesome.
binderbooks.com is the website, and from there we have printing equipment. We're licensed through Case New Holland and through Navistar International for reproducing all this stuff. We pay them a royalty every quarter for having the pleasure of doing it. But
cool.
Yeah, like I said, it's great. We're just people all the time. And a lot of it's like 50-50 on the business. Half of it is trucks and scouts and medium trucks and large trucks. And then the other half is all the tractor stuff that we have.
Nice.
Oh, so you do parts for not just the scouts and the Travelalls and things like that, but in the small trucks, but you also do parts for the big trucks as well?
We don't do much for parts on anything except for the scouts and pickup trucks. The books, though, we have for everything.
I see.
Awesome.
Well, that would actually be helpful as well. I mean, even just finding some of that information these days. I for example, my parents own a company and they use a couple of medium duty international trucks. And I know that they've had a hard time cross-referencing parts and things like that. So if they would have contacted you, you probably would have been able to sell them the correct manuals and books for, if they called you up, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but if they called you up and said, hey, we've got a 1992 International, whatever model they would call those medium duty, the larger trucks, would you, the S series, is that what you said?
Yep.
That must have been Zaed there. You sound a little different there. So Zaed, so if they have the S series, so if they called you up and they said an S series, and I don't know enough about these trucks as well, you guys would be able to support them with literature that would help them to figure out the right parts and factory pieces that they would need to keep those trucks on the road?
Yep, definitely on the literature side, we would definitely have either a parts catalog, a service manual, or an owner's manual for it.
That's
and what's
awesome.
cool sometimes on these, it's like we don't have something. Just having connections with International, we'll call them up and go, hey, we've got somebody looking for this manual, and say we might have a copy, but it's so poor I can't copy it. I can't make copies of it. They're like, hey, we got a perfect one here. We'll set you up. So it's really nice having that, being able to have that type of information at our fingertips, pretty much.
For sure.
We're definitely going to have to keep that in mind. John,
I know a few people I'm going to be sending your way for that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dan.
Dan and whatnot with his scouts and all
Yeah.
that.
About a Garrett, too.
True. But John and I and producer Andrew, who's kind of a silent partner here, sometimes you hear him in the background, but
We try to get him to talk. He refuses to.
We all are involved with the Museum of Off-Road Adventure, which I know I've talked to you about in the past, but we've started to develop a library of old manuals and books and things like that, specifically for the purpose not of reproducing, that's not the business we're in, but for having the information. And if somebody needs it in the future, we've got outer print manuals for older 4x4 vehicles and things. But it's very nice to know now that if we have a museum patron that comes in and says, hey, I'm looking for this information on this International, that we know where to direct them now. Because we probably don't have, I don't think we have any International literature. We may have one, I think we may have an old Chilton Scout manual or something. But so if somebody comes in and they're doing something with International,
We've got a source.
we got a source. We can tell them, get a hold of these binder books people over at IH Parts America. I mean, that's pretty darn cool. I did not know that's what the business model was. I should have done better research on that. That's cool. That's really cool. Speaking of the oddball stuff, and I guess kind of maybe changing subject a little bit there, I noticed, Zaed, you've commented a couple of times. You and I are friends on Facebook, of course, and we're in some of the same groups. People have been looking for parts. I've noticed over the years that, like, International, for whatever reason, like the Dana axles they use some specific parts that were, like, specific to International. You guys seem to have a stock of these or know where to get them or something like that. I guess this is a two-part question. Do you know why International kind of went away from what the big three did? And two, how much aftermarket or new old stock support do you guys have for some of, say, like those axles and trans and transfer case parts for those old Internationals?
Well, we definitely, like I said, we have access to some of this stuff for sure. I mean, some of it's unobtainium. You just can't find it. You're just stuck with scrounging through the junkyards trying to find what you can. Some of the other stuff, like spindles, stub shafts, it is still made and reproduced. As the Y International would, like, for instance, use 8-bolt spindles, but everybody else is using 6. I don't know. It just definitely made some parts a little bit harder to find because of that. Some things are easy. They mimic a Jeep, like on a Scout 2. It's the same as Jeep parts. But, boy, some of this other stuff, I have no idea why they had to make things just a little bit different. It really, no rhyme or reason on some of that stuff, for sure, the International did back in the day.
Yeah, change for change's sake, but so, you're able to, it really seems to me, though, I've noticed there's been a number of people, I'd heard of IH Parts America, I'd not being an international owner myself, but I'd still heard of you guys kind of being in the industry. But I've really starting to take a notice after meeting you guys on UA. And it seems like you're really kind of the go-to company for some of this, like you said, almost unobtainium stuff. Something tells me you got some stockpiles of things that some people can't find. But you don't have to give up your secrets if you don't want to there. But it's sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
It's definitely a niche market. There's only a few of us big dogs really that, in the country really doing it. But there's definitely a lot of smaller shops that have opened up, especially in the last few years, that are starting to do it. And it's just great. There's just more and more people trying to keep these things on the road, more the better. So we're trying to do our best, like I said, and concentrate on parts, trying to keep parts in these guys' hands and keeping these trucks back on the road.
Did you think when we went on UA that you were going to be the only international driver there, or were you surprised to see two more?
Being a sponsor, I have a little bit of inside information. So I knew that the UA International Scout from last year was going to be there. And then whether they picked a reader or not, that was just, like, hey, it'd be cool if you guys did. And well, they were cool about it. And they ended up did. And it was totally it was a rigged Joe Grisham Scout. I mean, it belonged on UA. That thing was like flawless the whole week.
I don't think he had a single problem with that entire thing, did he ever?
He had a cracked shock mount that he probably could have got away with,
cracked shocks, Hell, I don't think my daily driver has working shock absorbers, so.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, man, we haven't heard much from Zaed there. Zaed, we want to hear from you. Like, what was your favorite part of UA? Like, what was, or did you enjoy yourself, or were you like, man, I'm never doing this again? Like, give us your UA rundown, or what you liked or disliked about it.
Well, pretty much every day was definitely a different adventure. I like hanging out with you guys, especially at those campsites and Chad, checking out you guys' cool Jeep that managed to survive with all the thrashing Chad put it through. And definitely poor spots, or poor parts of the trip were the constant breakdowns every few hours, but other than that, it was pretty fun.
Well, we had a blast with you as well. I mean, Chad even himself will admit that his Jeep was kind of the bubblegum Jeep of the group. It was the most bolt-on, nothing crazy there, but it was something he built. You guys are going to be very impressed if you're coming next year. I don't know if I'm going to be his co-driver next year or not. That's still up in the air, but you'll be very impressed with what he is building for next year. It's going to be completely different than a JK with a bunch of junk bolted to it. I tell you what. Not putting Chad's...
Well, right on. We hope to have something pretty cool to bring and show him too, for what we got already planned. We already actually have a lot of parts on order and coming in, so it's going to be pretty exciting what we're going to put together. I think it'll be pretty cool looking. Definitely a little bit different, I think, than what's been out there on UA before. I want to say, unless they've had something pretty damn old in the past.
All right. So I'm just going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to play a guessing game, or maybe just straight up devil here, because I honestly don't know what you're building, but in the Scout world, knowing that you're working with Chad to do the AX-15 behind the Slant 4 International motor, which, John, did you even know that they made a Slant 4? It's half of a V8.
Nope.
It's a goofy looking thing. It's kind of like the old Slant 6 Dodge, but it's literally like half a V8. But anyways.
Weird.
So I'm thinking you're going to build a first generation Scout. Those are called the 800, correct?
Yeah, 80 actually, or the 800, but same old body style.
So I'm thinking you're going to build an 80 with a Slant 4 with an AX-15, and you're going to turbocharge it.
No, you're pretty far off.
I'm pretty far off.
but kind of close on the Scout part. So it is, because we offer so many different suspension and drivetrain parts for the Scout, especially the Scout 2 chassis. So that's what we're going to actually build on, is the Scout 2 chassis, actually the long wheelbase Scout 2 called the Terra Traveler, that's based on a 118-inch wheelbase. Of course, we'll use IHDNA under the hood to keep our loyal fans still loyal, by keeping that IH red power.
So you're going to go 345, 392?
NV 4500. It'll be NV, 392 with an NV 4500 Atlas transfer case with a 4:3 ratio. I do have a set of Ultimate Dana 60s on order with 538s and ARBs, so that'll be going underneath. Definitely going to go opposite of my sprung over Scout. We will be keeping the spring under. I've been 2 years now of UA. I've see what these guys build, and I'm going to mimic what they build, which is low and wide. So it'll be, like I said, so a Scout chassis with all that. And then as for a body, I've got a lot of different trucks to pick from, but I thought I'd go with what, in my opinion, is definitely the ugliest front end that I think International ever put together in 100 years, and that was the L Series, which was 50 to 52. I've got an L Series cab in pretty nice shape that'll make, it's nice enough for a rock crawler, but not, it won't hurt anyone's feelings if we didn't restore it, of course. So it'll be going on the Scout chassis, and then we'll decide what we do for a bed, whether it's a flat bed or an actual original bed or something like that. But I plan on chopping it a little bit, I hope, if it all works to plan, and kind of doing a pinch job on the nose and all that. So I've already named it Project Hideous because it's going to be ugly.
I don't think
Hideous, especially because it's IH, but HI, so I can kind of use the IH logo.
I
like it. I like
okay,
it.
all right. We like that.
Okay, so it's been deemed Project Hideous, and that's what we're planning on building for next year. So like I said, a 50 series cab on a Scout chassis with International DNA and like I said, low and wide. And hopefully it comes out to plan and gives us a good year, like I said, a little bit of redemption from what we went through this last year.
Well, I don't think you need redemption. You guys got through all 7 days. You rolled on the last day, and you still drove off the trail. That is a total win.
That counts then.
Yeah, that totally counts in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But, I hate to tell you though, man, and I know it's just personal opinion, I don't think the L Series is that ugly of a truck. I kind of actually think that they look like they almost look like a lead sled version of a 40s Ford truck. So, I kind of like them. In fact, there used to be one here in town that a guy had for years that he wanted just stupid money for, because he got those double back windows. I always loved that about them.
Yeah. But honestly, it's just the grill. I think they've got like the ugliest grill on them, and the 53 to 55 R Series trucks are basically the same thing, but they put a new grill on them, and oh my God, they just look so much cooler. And then they went from there to let me see, R. Then they went to the S Series, and the S Series was only like a 1.5 year thing, and really the S Series is like my favorite of all of them. I think it's just got the coolest body lines to it. And then after the S, they went back to the A Series and kind of started the alphabet over.
Yeah,
but they did go from like one of the ugliest to within a few years. Boy, they, in my opinion, made one of my most favorite, front end and body styles. So, like I said, I ain't knocking it. It's just. I have my favorites and least favorites of all the years, and I've just always, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm like, there's just something about those L Series. I've just always thought they were ugly. So when I decided to do this truck, which this particular truck, it wasn't even destined for this. I sat around here at the house for a long time. I sold the bed off it recently. I said, well, let's take it up to the shop and we'll part it out. And I guarantee everyone will sell all the parts. And we sold a few parts off it, but it ended up nobody bought anything off it, really, anything major. Nobody bought a fender or the grill or anything, and they're always, like, in demand. So I just kept looking at it. I said, you know what, screw it. I said, don't sell any more parts off this thing. We're building it for UA. So,
hey, you know what? I think that's
you got
cool.
a second lease on life.
Nice.
I don't think I've ever seen someone build an off-road L series, so I'm sure it's been done, but maybe no one's ever built a cool, like, straight-up hardcore UA-capable rig out of one. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you build.
Yeah, no, I really hope we have the time and be able to pull it off to, what we're envisioning for it.
And you said this one's going to get an MV4500 as well?
Yeah, it's kind of one of our signature. It's like there's many of our parts that we offer that we could bolt onto it. So
Awesome.
It's one of the reasons why I've already been told, what, you're going leaf springs? Like, yes, we're going leaf spring because under our CPT name we have a leaf spring suspension system, and we want to display as many of our products as we can, at least this first year. And then if all goes good and all that, and we have the time and ability, then maybe we'll link the thing after a year or two
Nice.
or something. But for now, the plan is to try to utilize and have it, being a showcase of our products on wheels and demonstrating what our CPT stuff's capable of.
So I got a follow-up question, too, that this for both of you guys. What's your favorite part? The favorite part that you guys under the CP name have, what's your favorite?
You'll probably laugh at this one, but I guess one of my favorite little CPT things was the little hydraulic liftgate struts for the liftgate on a Scout 2. Instead of messing with the old mechanical ratchet things, you just twist the handle and whoosh, like a modern car, that liftgate opens right up. So I know it seems so basic and remedial, but it's like, man, I love having that little part on there.
What about you, Zaid?
For me, it's probably the hood strut because you pop the hood a lot on Scouts, so definitely saves the time walking around to the passenger side to prop it up and close it.
All right, cool. Hey, Zaid, let me put you on the spot here because I come from somebody who my parents, my father, my mother now as well. My father passed away last year, but family businesses, worked in the family businesses for many years, battled with that kind of. Do I want to work in the family business or not? And I still do. I actually do still work in my family's business part-time, but I do my own thing full-time. What direction, like, do you have that love for the internationals where, why did you decide to continue in the family business? I guess that's the right question. Why did you decide to continue in the family business of the internationals?
Well, I mean, since I grew up with them, I pretty much know everything about them at this point. All the specs, how to take them apart, how to work on them. Pretty much all the trucks, I've been taking them apart and parting them out forever and talking to the phone to guys and explaining them how to put them back together. So you might as well just go into the profession of international harvester if you already know everything about them.
Oh, heck yeah, man. I mean, so you basically got ingrained by the old man there then, didn't you? He just
yeah, it's pretty much imprinted.
So do you drive an international every day as well?
I do. When I usually carpool to work with my dad, but yeah, I drove. My primary vehicle is an international harvester.
What is it?
It's a 72 half-ton four-wheel drive pickup truck.
Oh, is it like the short bed step side thing, or what do you got going on there?
No, it's just a long fleet side bed.
Nice.
Just your standard truck, but it offers you have our CVT suspension kit on it with the GM springs and all that stuff. So it's pretty much a test vehicle, which has been doing pretty well for the past few years.
How does it ride with those GM springs?
It's probably one of the smoothest riding internationals on the property.
No kidding, man. I got to check one of those out someday. What if I get out your way? You're in California, correct?
Yeah, we're up Northern California.
Next time I'm out that way, it's only every couple of years, but I'm going to have to knock on your door, and you guys are going to have to take me for a test drive in one of those because...
Yeah, we'll do more than that, man. I mean, we're only like 45 minutes from Fordyce Trail, about an hour and a half from Rubicon, so...
Nice.
We're definitely in some prime wheeling areas out here.
And that's near wine country out there, as I understand it. So
wine country.
Oh yeah, there's wineries like 10 minutes from here.
Oh,
like
excellent.
Nice wineries too.
Oh, I like
yeah,
this.
there's a lot to do out
wine,
here.
Wine and an off-road tour.
Come out. There's definitely a lot to do besides all the other California stuff that's out here.
I think John just perked up when he realized you guys were in Northern California, because we've talked before on the podcast about how there's like the right part of California to be in, and Northern California is definitely it, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, we do appreciate the hot rod, rat rod culture in Southern California and stuff like that, but, you know, you guys...
we actually have that here in Grass Valley, too. I mean, there's a huge car following, a lot of old-timers, a lot of young guys too, but I mean, there's the Cars and Coffee every Saturday morning right in town by the Kmart. And, you know, like I said, when they put on a car show out here, they fill up our fairgrounds with like 1,000 cars. It's just crazy what they,
cool.
You know, what we have out here. So, you know, there's a lot of car culture besides the off-road vehicle culture and trucks and all that. I mean, it's strong in all makes and models out here.
Super, super cool, man. Well, I tell you what, you know, I would love, you know, we're kind of getting a little bit short on time here, but at the same point, you know, is there anything else you guys want to talk about with IH Parts America, or at the very least, how can people get a hold of you if they're working on an old International? And now, you know, I kind of always thought of you as the scout guys, but now that I know that you're into the trucks and you even have literature on the big trucks and stuff, you guys are an awesome resource for anyone who has a binder. So, you know, how can they get a hold of you, and what else do you want people to know about your company?
Well, like I said, the main website is ihpartsamerica.com. If they're shopping for literature, they'll want to go to the binderbooks.com website, because that'll have the thousands and thousands of titles of all the different stuff. The IH Parts America site's limited on the book titles, but that's where all the parts are at. Or they can always call. We have a full sales staff on hand, 7:30 to 4:30 Monday through Friday at 530-274-1795. Well, like I said, you know, just want people to know that we're here to help them get their old Internationals on the road. Like I said, specializing in scouts and pickups, but we do have stuff for other IH models. But that's what we're here, you know, preserve history, keep these things on the road, keep them going. You know, sometimes we even pick up, like we own the 20th Scout ever made.
Wow.
It's still unrestored. It's not pretty, but it's still original. And
That's awesome.
It's the 20th one. It's FC 520.
That is awesome.
We've got a truck here. It's an A-Series Travelette. They only made 72 of them. And of the 72, they only made 17 3/4-ton 4x4, and there's 2 of them here. So, you know, just little things. We come across a little piece of history like that. It's like, gotta snag it before someone else does, or goes to the crusher, or they don't know what they have and they modify it. Or, you know, so yeah, it's just like I said, it's mostly preserving the legacy, but then having fun doing it.
Well, I tell you what, if you ever run out of storage space there and you want to ship some stuff Michigan way, the Museum of Off-Road Adventure would be more than happy to take some things on long-term loan, and you could store them here, because I tell you what, we love having displays like that, and unfortunately, we still currently do not have an International, although our new treasurer for the museum is a hardcore International guy. The problem we have with displaying his Scout is he keeps driving it and off-roading it. And so I'm like, man, you need to bring it in here and park it. So, but he probably will bring it in during special events and things like that. But
yeah, cool.
You know,
yeah, maybe one day we can send something over your way for you to put in the museum, so other people can, you know, I've got rigs here that are just sitting and hiding, and, you know, unless I bring someone to my house to show them, it's like, yeah, they don't really know it's here, but at least we have it. Like I said, we are preserving it. So
that's awesome.
But when we can get the opportunity to share what we have, we've done it before. We've had a vehicle. Actually, the White Scout was in the old Tal Ford Museum in Sacramento years back for a display. So it's pretty cool, you know, to be able to do something like that, share what we have.
You know, I don't remember exactly how you said it yesterday, Jeff, but when you had a quote, and I wish I would have written it down, but it was something about along the lines of kind of your mission with your business about preserving history. Do you remember exactly what you said? Because I know it really hit a nerve with me.
Yeah, like I said, our main motto is to preserve history. And number two is to make a profit doing it so that we can keep doing number one. We can keep that history out there.
Love that.
You know, we're just about a dozen of us here, and we're trying to make a living doing it. But at the same time, you know, we can keep putting money back in the business and keep working on preserving these old trucks because they're not going to be around forever.
And you're keeping them on the road, and you're keeping the enthusiasts behind the wheel and keeping that word out there. And, man, you know, people like you are a gem in this industry. And, you know, just straight up saying, you know, hey, this is exactly what we want to do. I love that. I love your motto. I love what you're doing. You guys are awesome. And we can't thank you enough for bringing this type of service to the, you know, not just the international world, but the off-road world, the history world, the people, you know, John, Andrew, myself, the people we put together this podcast, we're all into preserving the 4x4 history here. And so when we're talking to a true enthusiast, like yourself and Zaed, you know, this means a lot to us, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, like I said, and we appreciate what you guys do there because you're just like us, you know, and you're preserving history as well. So we totally can jump on board with what you guys are doing and appreciate what you're doing as well.
Next time you're Michigan way, we need to take you for a tour through the museum. We're small, but you know, show you what we're doing and how we're starting up and what's going on here. So we definitely need to do that. Well, I tell you,
definitely.
I tell you what, I don't want you to go away for a minute, but we're gonna close out this episode. So John's got a couple announcements, but before we do that, is there any other announcements that you have? Any places you want anybody to check out or get a hold of? I know you already talked about the binder books and the ihpartsamerica.com. I want to make sure we're not missing anything. Is there any social media platforms that you'd like people to follow you on?
Well, yeah, we've got a Facebook page for IH Parts America, actually Binder Books and CPT, but you know, mostly the IH Parts America Facebook page or Instagram page gets the most traffic. And so, yeah, if they want the most up-to-date, that's probably the place to find us at. Even our own forums and website doesn't get the attention that the Facebook page does. But and then we do have a monthly newsletter that we do send out, so they can always again, if they go to our ihpartsamerica.com website on the home page, there's a place there that they can sign up and then keep up on the latest builds, the latest new parts we're coming out with, any shows we're going to. You know, like, it was pretty cool this year. We took a trip out to Fort Wayne, Indiana, to where the Scouts used to be made. We're at the old actual plants and the old R&D center. So yeah, like I said, I keep talking all night with you guys about this stuff, but.
Well, tell you what, Jeff, we're definitely going to have to bring you on again in the future. You know, we'll get to a certain point where we've got a certain international thing that we want to talk about. You know, we really appreciate you even just coming on now.
Both of you, thank you.
Both of you and Zaed. I know you guys probably do a podcast, you know, 3-4 times a week, and you know, there's
this is my first one ever.
Oh, this is your first one ever, huh? Well, I'm glad that we are.
Had the honor.
How about for you, Zaed? You ever done a podcast before?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? All right. Well, I tell you what.
No, we're your first victims. You're the first ones to get us on a podcast and stuff. So, like I said, when the invite came out, I go, "Hey, that sounds pretty cool. You know, let's give it a try." And we do appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm sure. I hope our listeners will enjoy talking to you, and by all means, you know, listeners of the Wheelin' Podcast, I have met both of these gentlemen in person, spent a week with them on Ultimate Adventure. I can tell you
and
right
they still
now.
Talk to you?
Yeah, I tell you what, these are hardcore wheeling enthusiasts. These are guys that go out and they're not just part slingers. These are people who are doing this for the passion and the love of the industry. And so if you're an international owner, you've got a Scout or a pickup truck or even a big truck or whatever, you know, this is the company you need to deal with. IH Parts America. You need to talk to them. They, like I said, you know, these are true enthusiasts in the industry, and everyone always wants to deal with the enthusiasts. These are the guys you need to deal with. So, on that note, John, where else can they hear from us?
Well, Well, more about us, check us out on Facebook. Just search 4x4 Talk in the little search bar there. Interact with us and any of the other listeners of Wheelin' Radio. Again, more information, of course, on Jeff and Zaed of IH Parts America. Check out their website, their Facebook page, or thebinderbooks.com. Big thanks to Mr. Andrew, our producer, for without him, none of this would be possible. Thank you. You do a lot.
You do.
We also have our patreon.com/Wheelin' Radio. Access to our after show, The End of the Trail. Little as $2 a month. We get a little bit more loose with the show and topics and have a lot of fun with that. Check that out. And I'm pretty sure that's it. So with that, thanks for listening and have a good one, everybody.